If you're looking for the best DM setting script, then you're in the right place, because we use this exact DM setting scripting that I'm about to break down in today's video on over 1.5 million individual conversations in the last 12 months that have resulted in us booking 22,911 sales calls and generating just under $20 million in revenue for our clients combined through this exact scripting. Now, for context, I did a similar video in the past where I broke down the framework but not the wording and the scripting behind how we approach those conversations, and you seem to love that. I got a bunch of messages from people asking for the specific scripting and the specific wording, so that's exactly what we're going to cover in today's video. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. My name is George Nita. I run a company called DMsetting.com. We're the largest DM setting training and management company in the entire info coaching industry. Generated over $50 million for our clients in the last 3 years. And in today's video, as I said, I'm going to cover the script that we use to send all of those millions and millions of messages. So with that being said, let's dive in. All right, so as you can see on the screen now, I got a script here pulled up. You can see all the steps that we're taking people through, and we're going to cover each and every single one of those steps. So that being said, let me zoom in a little bit and let's dive in. So the first step is obviously the introduction, the beginning of the conversation. That's how we initiate conversations, and this is how we approach it. So we have two types of introductions, or two ways someone is going to come into our inbox. The first one is where we do an outbound message to one of our followers, or to someone that watches the story, or to someone that likes or engages with one of the posts that we make. And that's called an outbound, right? Because we reach out to the person. So an outbound is when we go out and we send a message, and inbound is when we receive a message from the person. So we have outbound and then we have inbound. Now, for example, for outbounds, for new followers, typically what we do is we do a voice note. So we have a pre-recorded voice note from the business owner that's kind of welcoming the person to the profile and asking pretty much similar to what you're going to see here. We have that we sometimes use, and that tends to get really good responses, or we just use plain text. This is also easier and faster, especially at volume. It's going to be faster to do this than send a voice note. And it goes something like this: hey, just so you drop me a follow, I'm about to head off to a meeting, but I wanted to check in and see if I can help beforehand. Do you know anything about how X, Y, and Z works, or are you coming in fresh? This is considering you're selling some sort of biz op offer, some sort of business opportunity. You know, it could be YouTube automation, e-com, dropshipping, branded dropshipping, trading, a specific type of trading. Like, it can really be Amazon, you know, like you name it. It can really be anything. It doesn't really matter what it is. Remote closing, remote appointment setting, like all the different niches out there. But this is what we would ask here. So do you know anything about how remote closing works? Or do you know anything about how appointment setting works, or being an SDR, or like whatever, right? Whatever your opportunity is. Or are you coming in fresh? And if you've watched my other video on the channel where I break down the framework, this is going to make a whole lot of sense, because the next part here is where it gets interesting. Now, it's the same pretty much for the story views or the post likes. So, hey name, I see you've been watching the stories. I see you've been liking the content. Power to you. Are you already into X, Y, and Z? You know, this could be trading, this could be YouTube automation, whatever, you get the point. Or are you just looking to learn more? Or do you know anything about X, Y, and Z? Or are you coming in fresh? Just want to engage with them. Basically, just want to give a reason of like me initiating the conversation is like, hey, I'm curious, like, do you know anything about this? Or are you coming in fresh? The key thing here that you got to understand and like always remember is like, you're in control of the conversation. So don't be afraid to like ask questions and just really take the lead in the conversation and move on through the steps. So that's the outbounds. Now, when it comes to inbounds, very, very similar approach. So, hey name, power to you for reaching out. Let's see if I can help you beforehand in any way. And then typically what we do on offers where we're dealing with a lot of volume is we're asking people where they're based out of. And this acts as an initial qualification step, right? Because if someone's based out of India, Pakistan, etc., all the love to those people, but for high ticket programs, they're just not a fit. Everyone knows, right? Because of the unfortunate economic situation that they're in. We do this as a filter. Full transparency, it allows us to be incredibly effective, right? Because if we have, for example, 300 messages coming in or 200 messages coming in a day, and then 70% of those or 50% of those are going to be from third world countries, we don't want our DM setters to spend half of their time talking to those people, booking them into a call, and then to only see on the booking form from their phone number where they're based. Like, we really, really don't want that to happen. So I want to be as efficient as possible to not waste any time and to maximize the time that the DM setters spend talking to the right leads that's going to lead to the right bookings, the qualified bookings, that's then obviously going to lead to conversions, right? So very, very important. This step here, you can skip it if you have less volume, but I still recommend you add it in. It doesn't create a whole lot of resistance. Once they respond to this, that's awesome. I'm over in whatever you're based out of. Now, do you know anything about X, Y, and Z, your unique mechanism, your business opportunity, or whatever it is that you're teaching people? Do you know anything about how that works, or are you coming in fresh, or do you have any info? Or are you starting from zero, beginner mode, right? So you can kind of play with the wording. The whole point of this and the whole goal of this is them to say, I don't really know, I'm coming in fresh, how does it work? This is what we want. We want to create interest here, right? And we want to also kind of give them the perception that they're going to get something valuable if they respond to this question. It's like, hey, do you know how this works? No, I don't. Well, like, what's the next step? It's like, this person's probably going to explain it to me, right? So it kind of sparks that curiosity as well. So that's how we start conversations. Now, step 2 is what I call the breakdown. So where we basically explain how the opportunity works. Now, the way we do this is we do it through a voice note. So 95% of the times, especially if you're selling a B2C offer, a lot of those people that you're gonna have conversations with, they will be beginners. They'll say, I'm coming in fresh. They're not gonna have a whole bunch of info. They're curious anyways. So you can just say something like this: no worries, I'm gonna explain, or no worries, I'm gonna send over a quick breakdown. Then we have a voice note. The best practice with this is less than 59 seconds. You really don't want it to be over a minute because then people make excuses. And we've tried a longer one, but just conversion just drops unless people respond to it, or people start making excuses as to like why they can't listen right then and there, because they're in the car, they're in the subway, they're driving, they're walking, they just make a whole bunch of excuses. So you really want to keep this short. And then this voice note breakdown basically explains like, hey, this is this model, this is how it works. Just give them a little bit. Don't talk about the program at all or the features or the benefits of your program. This is really not what this is about. This is just an explanation of the business model. So for example, here with YouTube automation, and this is me not being an expert in YouTube automation at all, but what I would probably say in a voice note is like, hey, so the way YouTube automation works is, you create faceless channels, and they only take you about a couple of hours a week to run after you set everything up. And basically the way you create those videos around certain topics that you're passionate about, for example, history, war, religion, finance, business, golfing, like whatever, sports, like it can really be any topic that you're passionate about and that you personally have an interest in. And then the video creation process is super easy, super straight to the point. You use tools like AI tools like this and that to generate the script, and then you'd find a video editor to help you edit the videos, and you'd find a thumbnail designer, or you'd even use AI for that to help you design the thumbnail. Obviously, this needs a lot of work. This is not how a voice note would sound, but just so you understand the point, what I'm doing here is I'm explaining the model, right? And then once you have the video, once you have the final product, you would upload it to YouTube, it would start getting views, and then the views are always going to compound, right? And then YouTube pays you for every 1,000 views. And for you, for example, to make $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month, you need about X amount of views on an industry or in a niche like finance or like business or like tennis or whatever. So that's kind of what it would sound like for the breakdown. Again, it's about the business and not about the actual deliverables of the program. So please stay away from that. Don't mention students, don't mention your program, don't mention anything. You just explain the model. The purpose of this is to get them bought into the model. So the sexier you can make this sound, or the more appealing you can make this sound, the higher compliance you're going to get throughout the rest of the conversations. This is super important. Then we basically ask them immediately after sending this, does it sound like something you see yourself doing? Sounds like something you're interested in? I want to get the tie down. I want to get the commitment, right? Because they listen to it. We spark up the curiosity, we get them hooked because we have a good explanation, an appealing explanation. They're like, oh yeah, like this is really cool. Like I see myself doing this. Like this makes sense. This answers, or this provides a lot of clarity. And then people perceive that as valuable. So what that does, it increases the chances of them continuing the conversation with you and continuing to get back to you over and over and over again throughout the next steps here in the conversation. That's if they're beginner mode, if they don't know anything about it, which is going to be the case like 95% of times, okay? Now, if they already know about it, what I want to do is I still, most of the times, want to send my breakdown because they probably don't know the specific approach that we take, or, like the more in-depth details that we will cover in the voice note. So we'll just be like, cool, that's awesome. What do you know about it so far? They would probably say, oh yeah, it's just like you post shorts on YouTube. You post like music videos or like whatever the fuck, right? Because they're probably not like, they probably don't really know. They just think they know about it. And then I'll just say, yeah, something along those lines. Here's how we do it, a little bit more in depth, just so you have full context. And then I'll still send the breakdown because again, this is the thing. This is the mechanism of like me hooking them in and kind of getting their attention early on in the conversation and creating compliance, maximizing the likelihood of them continuing to get back to us. So we would send the voice note. It's the exact same voice note breakdown. And then again, we would ask the same question. Does it sound like something you see yourself doing, or does it sound like something you're interested in? So that's step 2. Now, moving on to step 3. So this is where it gets interesting, or this is where we're actually diving a little bit more in depth. Now that we got them hooked, we have leverage, and we can kind of explore their current situation and then their desired situation. So typically what we would do is the first thing that I want to understand is their current situation or their current occupation, what they currently do for work. So, all right, walk me through. What do you do for work? Just so I can get a better understanding. Gotcha. Bet it keeps you busy. How long have you been doing that for? The reason why I like doing this, it's more conversational. It also creates or uncovers a little bit more pain because someone would say, like I work at, this warehouse and I've been doing it for the last 6 years. Like, oh yeah, like that's a lot. Like that seems like quite a lot, We can use that to kind of like use that pain as leverage in the conversation to move the needle forward and make sure that pain is visible or the prospect feels that pain because they verbalize it, right? So it's kind of the thought process behind this. From there, after we get the current occupation, we would go into like, hey, like, do you want to replace or do you want to supplement? So the way this message would look like, are you looking into this as a way to build an additional stream of income, or just fully replace your current income? Or are you thinking about replacing your job completely with this, or just supplementing your income? And then typically, again, 95% of the times, people are going to say, I want to replace it. The reason we're going down this path is it's going to make sense in a second. It's a way for us, this is how we do our soft financial qualification, which is understanding how much they're currently making right now. So they would say, I'm looking to replace. That's awesome. How much would you need to be making from YouTube automation or e-com or whatever in order to replace your current income? Oh, well, I would need to make $6,000 a month to replace what I'm currently making right now with the job. And now I know the person I'm speaking with is making $6K per month, right? So this is the thought process behind this and why we do it this way specifically. Now, if they want to supplement, would you say like, hey, that's nice. So how much money are you trying to make with this model? Any number in mind as a first goal. And then we follow through on this and we're like, hey, and is that how much you would need if you ever wanted to replace or match your current income, or how far away would that be? So if someone says, you know, I just want to supplement my income, I want to make an additional $3,000 a month, then we would kind of frame it as like, hey, is that how much you need to actually replace it or to match your current income, or how far away would that be? Oh no, I would need an additional $3,000 a month on top of that to be able to replace it or match it. And then again, now we know how much money that person makes. So this is basically, this entire thing is a way for us to get a little bit of paint and then to soft qualify them financially. Because if someone says, I'm a student, I'm in high school, I'm a single mom, so on and so forth, then we're obviously going to proceed in a slightly different way in the conversation, or we're going to be more careful throughout the booking process when we're booking them in. Now, most important thing that I really want to stress at this part of the conversation is getting a tangible goal. So tangible means a number. It doesn't mean I want to make a couple of grand a month. It doesn't mean a couple of $100. It means a number, and the higher the number, the better, because the bigger the gap that you're going to create here. So if someone's making $4,000 a month, if you can not only get them to say they want to make $4,000 a month to replace their income, but they actually want to get to like 8 or 10, that creates a much bigger gap. So again, you're going to get much higher compliance throughout the rest of the conversation, and even higher show rates and higher close rates, because there's more at stake. It's more interesting. The goal is more appealing, right? So it's much more likely for that person to actually follow through with the next steps in the conversation. Now, here, what we do is if you need to, or feel like you should dive deeper here, maybe you're getting just one-word answers in the conversation, or you just want to create a little bit more commitment for whatever reason because this is just your gut feeling, or you feel like, you know, it's needed in a specific conversation, then you basically say something like, hey, you know, that's cool. Money's definitely a huge part, but I'm actually curious about the bigger picture for you. Is there something specific that you're hoping that this will help you accomplish? Anything personal that you're working towards? Or, you know, like, what would this really do for you? We're going to layer deeper into this, and this typically gets people to open up to us more when prior to the conversation or prior to this question specifically, they weren't really like opening up that much. So I like doing this every now and then. This is not something that we do in every single conversation, just again, every now and then, whenever you feel like it's needed. Now, once you got a tangible goal, you know, that's totally doable. There's actually no limit to how far you can grow with this. I've done multiple 5-figure months myself and helped many others do the same. In fact, check this out. And then typically what we do here is we have a results video. We've been testing with this for the past, like, I'd say probably 7-8 months now, and it's working really well. And I'm really happy with the conversions that we're seeing and the compliance that we're seeing here from people, and the amount of people that actually end up booking in calls or saying yes to our call proposals, which is going to follow here in a second. This results video, basically what it is it's less than 59 seconds again. So you can send it in Instagram, and it's like a native like Instagram video. They don't have to click somewhere else. It's not a YouTube, it's not a Loom. You can send it in Instagram when it's less than a minute long. I think even less than 2 minutes, but really try and keep it short. Again, you don't want people making excuses for not watching it. And then what we cover in this video is it'll be a selfie video from the business owner where, for example, on an offer like Amazon FBA, they would show their Amazon dashboards with their sale, or their Shopify dashboards if it's e-com, right? With their sales for like the last 30 days, 90 days, whatever. They would just refresh it, show that, hey, like this is my Shopify dashboard. It's 100% real. This is the money. Those are the results. Those are the numbers. So that's personal results proof. And then what we do is we'd go into client results proof, right? So for example, if you have a Discord community or a Slack community, or a school community where your clients are posting wins, or your coaches are sharing clients' wins, you'd pull that up and you'd be like, hey, and it's not just me, by the way. Look at Larry, who joined us, 2 weeks ago. And look at Michael, who joined us, 6 weeks ago. And look at, this person that just launched their product and got their first sale yesterday, and so on and so forth. And then look at this person that's been with us for 6 months and, is now making $13,000 a month. Stuff like that is really helpful. And then you just kind of end it as like, hey, so, like I just wanted to share this with you. I thought it's super cool so you can see what's actually possible with this model. Right? Again, less than 60 seconds, doesn't have to be too long or too in-depth. The entire purpose of this is just to create a whole bunch of trust, because immediately after this, we're gonna make the big ask, which is the call proposal. You guessed it. So here, immediately after we send the results video, we have a voice note. This is typically like a 15-20 second voice note with the call proposal where we invite them on a call. So, given, everything that you told me, this is a pre-recorded voice note, given everything that you told me, do you feel like it makes sense, or do you feel like it'd be helpful, or would you be totally opposed, if you were to schedule in for a conversation with my right-hand guy or with my lead advisor, so you can kind of walk you through the step-by-step process if you were to get started with ecom, kind of how getting our help along the way could look like for you, and explore if this is really the right thing for you or not. So something along those lines. Don't copy me word for word, but that's what we want to do here. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it short, keep it sweet. Less than 20 seconds is going to be ideal. Once they say yes, at this point, you're not really going to get people saying no. We very, very rarely get people that say, no, this wouldn't make sense, or no, this wouldn't be helpful. No, I'm totally opposed to this. Like, it never really happens. So you either get people to say yes, or you just get people that ghost, in which case you'd go in and follow up anyways. So once they say yes, what I'm always a fan of doing is sending booking links. I'm not a fan of manual bookings, because with manual bookings, if you might be thinking about doing manual bookings, I think that works really well with phone setting. I think it works really bad with DM setting, because you got to go back and forth. And then you basically create another like 5 or 6 different back and forths until they're able to figure the time and get their name and get their fucking email and phone number. And then your guy, your closer can't do this time, and then the lead can't do that time. It's just creates a lot more back and forth over the DMs, and it's probably going to span it out across another day or two, because people don't respond instantly over DMs. You got to keep that in mind. Whereas when you're on the call with someone, obviously you're going to be able to progress through that much faster, or advance through that much faster. So once they say yes, great, you can book a Zoom call here. If you don't see a time that works, just let me know. I'll sort it out for you. We send the booking link. And then immediately after that, we also say, hey, let me know once you're all booked, so I can send over some helpful resources for you to go through in the meantime. Also very important, because it basically paints the picture, it kind of bridges the gap, what actually happens once I book the call. So they're incentivized to book the call so that they receive the helpful resources. Okay, so that's step 4, I guess, and step 5 with sending the link. Now moving on to step 5, where we have the qualification. I'm always a fan of doing the qualification on the booking form itself and not necessarily doing it in the DMs. When we have to, we'll do it in the DMs, especially when we're dealing with like a really, really, really high influx of volume and leads coming through. But majority of times I just like doing it on the form, because it's less invasive. People are much more likely to say the truth or to actually follow through and respond to the questions when it's the person being asked the questions through a form, rather than a one-on-one human interaction where I'm asking someone, how much money do you have, or can you access this amount of capital, and that kind of stuff, right? So the leads are much more likely to actually follow through and respond to those questions and actually booking the call. If they're unqualified based on the answers in the booking form, we say, hey, just saw your call come through in the system. One quick thing, I was just reading your application and noticed that you mentioned you currently have around $2,000 or $500 available to invest. To be transparent, this business requires startup capital for successful launch and growth, though it's not a get rich quick scheme. Typically, it takes $4 grand, $6 grand, whatever your amount is. There's no right or wrong here, to be able to get the best results and ensure that you can eventually, a couple months down the line, or eventually be in a position to leave your job or replace or match or exceed your current income and grow this into, $96,000 a year, or like $100,000 a year, like whatever their income is that they want to replace income stream, right? So we would say this, and then immediately after, again, all those 4 messages are back to back. So after you get all the information they need, and if you feel like we're a good fit, would this budget be realistic for you? If they say no, but they're from the US or Canada, or you just have credit options available for like whatever they're from, depending on obviously where you're based out of as well, I hear you. You may have some options to get you started without a big upfront investment with a funding partner. Is that something you'd be open to discuss? If they're open to discuss, then we're just going to get their credit score, and we're going to ask if they can afford around whatever your requirement is. In this case, it's probably $400, $500, $600 a month to start this venture. And then we basically say, last thing I want to do is for you to be in a compromised spot. Just want to make sure you have the best chances of success going into this from day one. Now, if they don't have credit, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to cancel their booking. Typically, we might have some sort of automation, some sort of Zapier that automatically cancels them, or some sort of Typeform that automatically reroutes them outside of the booking form if they're not qualified, so it doesn't even let them book in the first place. If it's still not possible, or credit is not an option in the first place, then we just be like, no worries, I appreciate your transparency and your interest, and I don't want to leave you hanging. Probably the best place for it right now would be to, if you have a downsell, if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a specific YouTube video that you send beginners to, or some sort of free resource or guide or PDF, then you would send that over, and then you just say something along the lines of, this has enough information in it to help you understand the basics and allow you to get started on your own until you're in a better financial situation, and then let's reconnect in the future. So there's really no downside to doing this. I know some people don't really want to do it. I'm just not a fan of leaving people hanging, because I always believe that if we take good care of people and if we take good care of leads, eventually, it might not turn into a deal today or this week or this month. But if I show goodwill and if I build goodwill with someone, if I maintain that throughout the course of a couple of months, maybe this person right here that's not qualified today is going to binge watch my entire YouTube channel because I sent it here, and then they're going to go through all the videos, they're going to get super nurtured, and they're going to save up the money, and they're going to turn into a deal 4 months from now. It's like, that's still a win that otherwise wouldn't have happened if I didn't pay the attention here or if I just kind of kick them to the side and be like, fuck off, you're broke, right? So, and if they're qualified based on the answers, or, you know, based on the conversation that we have here and the qualifier messages that we're sending here, and there's no further action needed, obviously, and then we would just proceed with the next step, which in this case is confirming the booking. Awesome, I just got your booking on mine as well, and I got you locked in with my head coach, Dave, for Monday, 7 p.m. You should have received an email with a Zoom link and a text or email with a link to check out. Did both of those come through on your end? If yes, awesome. So this is typically the call confirmation page, or the homework page, as some people call it. They confirm that they received that. Perfect. Can you commit to going to the video on that link you just received prior to your call? It's going to help you hit the ground running with Dave, Michael, whatever your closer's name is. And then if no worries, I'm going to go grab it for you. Here's the page with the videos. You send the homework page, and then again, you ask the commitment question. So that's confirming the booking. Moving on, we do 2 call reminders. So this is step 7. We do a day before and a morning off call reminder. So hey name, so want to check in, make sure you're all set for a call tomorrow. And then optional, I'm a fan of doing this, and I like doing this a lot, and we've seen it increases compliance, the nurturing, the show rates, pretty much everything. Also, but you got to be careful with how you do it, and you want to do it the smart way, where we send out a resource, a personalized resource. Okay, so also here's, you know, a resource about X, Y, and Z to help you in a better picture of how everything's going to work, or, you know, how you're able to do X, Y, and Z. If the lead had some sort of technical questions, or, you know, questions about the success rate, or if someone's working in a specific industry and they want to transition into like whatever it is that you're doing, and you have a testimonial or a case study about someone that did the same thing from that specific industry to what you're doing, then obviously that is super helpful, and you can send that in here. It's much better than saying, hey, here's like 2,000 testimonials, go watch them, right? Because no one's gonna fucking watch that. But if like, hey, this person was exactly like you prior to joining, and they did exactly what you want to accomplish, then the likelihood of them consuming that resource is much higher. That's the day before, and then morning off, we just confirm the call. We make sure they have the Zoom link. So hey name, do you have the Zoom link for a call today with closer name? If not, let me know, I'll go get it for you. And once it's confirmed, we just like their message, and we just say, sounds like a plan, let me know how it goes. And that's it. I have some follow-ups here as well. Step 8, obviously, this is a big thing in DM setting. You're gonna get ghosted a lot, and a lot of people are in fact gonna ghost. Probably half of your leads are gonna ghost at some point. It's part of the game. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with your DM process. It's just people's attention span is so low right now in this day and age that like they just forget, they just ignore it, like something comes in the way, and then they like it completely vanishes from their memory. So you got to stay on top of it, right? So I'm not gonna go through each and every one of them, but my favorite ones personally, follow-ups that I used to use like many years ago when I was a DM setter myself, is hey name, I know life gets in the way sometimes, just making sure this didn't get lost in your inbox. I really like this. Hey, I'd love to hear back from you sometime soon. Then you can really just be creative. You don't have to kind of copy paste this. It doesn't really matter, as long as you're keeping a touch point with people and those are just not cringe or weird, and you don't make it weird, then you're probably gonna get, you know, decent responses on this. And then towards the end, right, obviously you don't want to be pushy, you don't want to send them a million follow-ups. Hey, I don't mean to be pushy. I like the direct approach. I take it you aren't interested in learning about e-com or YouTube automation anymore. So that's the general follow-ups. Obviously, sometimes we do more, sometimes we do less, but yeah, this is a couple of ideas or templates here for you. And then we have a specific set of follow-ups for when we send the booking link, but people don't book in. And this is probably more interesting than the general ones. So immediately after, or not immediately, but 10 minutes after we send the booking link, if the call doesn't come through, or in between, I'll say 10 to 30 minutes after, we just follow up. Hey, were you able to find a time that works, or did you have any trouble finding a time that works for you? Alternatively, just let me know. We're basically going to follow up like 10 minutes or in between 10 to 30 minutes after. Hey, were you able to find a time that works, or did you have any trouble finding a time that works? That's follow-up number 1. From there, if they still don't respond, we're going to follow up again with a different message. So alternatively, just let me know a few times you're available at over the next few days, and I'll see if we can open something up for you, because maybe they couldn't find something on the calendar, or maybe they didn't even look, but then they're going to see this message like, well, you know what, let me just take a look, and then let me send him the times. So this tends to work really well. And then a little bit of scarcity. Hey, we're getting pretty packed with calls. Did you still want to book in your slot? And then you just continue with the general follow-ups right here. Now, as a bonus, I'm not going to cover this in today's video, but as a bonus, I have some objection handling templates here for, is this a scam? Why do you want to help me? Why are you actually doing this? People being nosy. How much does it cost? What's the investment? What's the price? I don't have time. I've tried it before. It didn't work. I need to think about it. I'm worried this is too complicated. Is this really sustainable? Is it not saturated? So all that stuff is in here for you guys. If you want to get access to this doc, go to my Instagram. There's a link in the video description to my Instagram profile and DM me the word script, and I will send you this document right here, and you can do it as you please. So with that being said, I appreciate you sticking to the end. I'll see you in the next one.